I also love the theme of reflecting on things people are currently working on, and then things that are very future focused, like solving college tuition and like digging into what the hell that means. Because like infrastructurally, it's one thing, but then like conceptually, we could do that for hours. Like what the hell? That's sick.
It's true, yeah. Unbundling the college. A lot of people are very angry at college. I feel like a lot of people who are very angry at college had very bad college experiences. I've certainly had levels of education that I didn't like, but I was very happy at my college. So I know I was unusual for that reason, but I don't have the same animosity towards the whole concept of college, more like badly run colleges. But there's lots of people in the startup scene who would answer Kash's request with like, no, college must be destroyed outright.
Well, the thing with college in the U.S. is the expense. I mean, I'm sure plenty of people have like a good, I'm sure, varying experiences at college, but how much is it now? It's like $250,000 to send someone to college for 4 years.
I remember I didn't go to RISD, but I passed through, and I remember their tuition was something like $78,000 a year or something like that.
That's
for like a 4-year art degree. Crazy. I don't quote me on the numbers, but I think the tuition generally increases something like 1-3% per year anyway. So it's sort of approaching infinity eventually.
Start a DeFi protocol, which are options on future college tuition, so you can lock in a rate 20 years from now and create a DAO for that DeFi protocol, and you solve everyone's problems.
Yeah, problem solved.
Problem solved. That's it.
Yeah, I've been itching to jump into this conversation.
Yeah, I'm very curious to hear Kash's take.
Yeah, so I grew up in Pakistan. I moved to San Francisco 5.5 years ago. And I was a journalist in my previous life. And when I came here, I decided that I want to work in tech. And I thought I should go to college. And when I saw the college fee, I was like, hell no. Can you guess, like, my whole 16 years of education in Pakistan, how much does that cost? Any wild guesses? Anyone?
Wait, what's the question? How much does what cost?
My 16 year of education back in Pakistan, like, how much does that whole thing cost? Any wild guesses?
I'm gonna say free. I'm gonna bet zero.
It was $2,000.
Okay.
Right.
So
and when
16 years. That's what level to what level?
Like grade 1 to like. So they in Pakistan they call masters at grade 16. So you can call it undergrad level.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was my most expensive degree. But the point is that the whole thing cost me $2,000. And here, when I came here and I saw that $200,000, why would I give 4 years of my prime career and go to college and do that? So that was the inspiration from start. Then I went to a coding bootcamp, learned to program, worked for Adobe, and did all of that. So I think that is unfair. A lot of people are putting their important life decisions like having kids or buying a house or because of that financial strain that the college loan and student loan put on them. So for that reason, I'm like passionate about it, and I want to solve this and see if we can build the community and solve this.
I mean, that's rad. It's a enormous, endemic societal problem. It's huge. I think it's a great problem to try to tackle. It's also like an enormous problem, intimidating.
Yes, it is.
What was the name of the startup that was doing? I'm not going to remember the terminology for it, but they pay for you to study, and then they take 10% of your salary if you make at least a certain amount and not more than a certain amount.
Lambda School?
Yeah, Lambda. That's it, Lambda. YC kind of project. I know there's been mixed feelings about that, especially in its earlier iterations. I don't know if it's improved, but that was one version of sort of buying your education with your future salary or something. I don't get the feeling that's what you're after, though.
There is another startup, Andila, you might have heard about. So they train people for 3 to 6 months, and they sign the contract with them that they will work for them for 4 years. so they get actual hands-on experience and while earning money and the computer science degree at the end.
I think the Singaporean government does exactly the same thing.
Really, I didn't know that.
I know that they will pay for foreign education in exchange for work, years of work equivalent afterwards to pay off the bill, essentially.
That's interesting. Yeah, so there are certain models are in front of us, and John's advice when I was like taking notes when he was mentioning like when before issuing the token, really sort out like what you want to do with that. So we will follow one model and try to be as fair as possible to everyone.
So is your goal to provide a kind of traditional campus experience, American college campus experience, or like online? Do you have a sense of what you're after?
So yeah, so we asked this question: why do people go to college? And we identified there are 6 main factors. Number one is getting credential, and then for the college experience, a promise of a job, networking, lifestyle, prestige. So we want to unbundle all these 6 parts and build it on chain. For example, if we want to build a credential for someone as a software engineer, if they are committing their code on chain and they're selling NFTs, right? So this is a good enough credential, right? You don't need a piece of paper anymore to prove that you are capable of doing something. So this is just one example of how we are thinking of unbundling.
It sounds like if the intent is to work for a DAO of sorts, then the education coming from a DAO and the financing might make sense. But I'm curious how many younger folks or their parents have that intent ahead of time.
Also, I would say if there's like all these different things to be unbundled, like most likely, like a computer didn't look like a typewriter or whatever, or, they didn't invent a new kind of ink. Like it's probably going to be just tackling some piece rather than the whole thing. It's interesting that you say DAO because to me, I described Shark DAO as DAO school. And I think every DAO is DAO school for people who are involved, even if they're quite experienced. You're always learning something. So I wonder if there's something intrinsic about it being a DAO that could be educational, that could be valuable, or if that's just join any DAO.
Sorry, I didn't completely understand this question.
I just mean like a DAO is probably, you're not going to have an on-chain college. You're going to have 10 other things that sort of overlap with what a college did. And so maybe it's not going to be 100. It almost certainly won't be 100% skeuomorphic to what college looked like previously, but instead there will be many different things in many different ways that serve the same kind of needs. And one of those things is actually participation in a DAO itself. Is I find very educational and potentially lucrative in terms of the knowledge that you gain, expertise. I think in 5 years, most people in most offices are not going to have an idea of what to do to run a DAO, but the people who spent their time in certain discords will.
Yes.
So it's like we talk about, what was the other one? I was like a DAO politician is one of these kind of Andreessen new jobs. And another one I think about sometimes is like a airdrop officer or something, like somebody that you hire who maybe manages many people's wallets, claiming all of the airdrops you have access to, and maybe liquidating NFT derivatives that are pumping and they have no faith in or something. So maybe there's some. I don't know if learning about DAOs is the thing that you're seeking to teach particularly, but that does seem like something that DAOs are intrinsically good at teaching.
Could that be like you can imagine?
Oh no, I lost Danny.
Damn, I lost Danny too.
I think probably got a phone call.
It reminds me of Dennison's earlier comment of Bartholomew's bone owned by some king. It's interesting to have like a history lesson also, but like applied to what's currently happening. Like how can we teach each other history via these same mechanisms that we're currently teaching ourselves other things, more modern things, but really kind of thread the needle throughout, I guess, how humans behave, but in DAO format or in a modern sense.
The first thing I thought was, when's a DAO going to try and buy that bone?
I just want to add a few things here. I understand there are the question that you asked, like or comment that you made, that something overlapping related to college. The thing is that college in current state, it's an old institution. It's been there for hundreds of years, and don't get me wrong, I'm not against college. I think it has pushed through a lot of innovation and advanced the human civilization in great ways. I'm against what my problem is against, like being so expensive for billions of people. And when we say is our college, DAO college for everyone, it means for everyone.
Right. I'm just thinking like, it's probably DAOs are probably going to change more than just where the money comes from. Like, we can't just be dumping $275,000 or whatever it is into every American's college fund through a DAO. The solution will probably have to do with like changing the economics of getting an education in America, or some people believe like the increasing irrelevance of a lot of these degrees relative to actually getting jobs, which is unfortunate because people end up also throwing out all of the other brilliant things about college that are not directly monetizable. So like this is just my opinion. I would think that maybe one should focus on some aspect that people get out of the college experience, rather than try to just find an alternative way to fund the exact. Because in the end of the day, if you create a DAO that just collects money to pay for people's tuition, then they just end up paying. Like Khan Academy is a version of give everybody access to the information held within academia. So I don't know it is just a comment. It's not really a question.
But I don't think we've seen yet a DAOification of the endeavor. And it'll probably need to go through several experiments before getting to something that might scale. Although the question Cash brings up of how to start a foundation towards this end is certainly interesting. Because, I mean, we're still experimenting at the infrastructure layer and the tooling layer. But the actual endeavor is pretty experimental in itself. So lots of questions and maybe not enough answers.
Yeah, I think one thing that is interesting about DAOs as it is that the people who are interested in them are very interested in them, versus a lot of traditional schooling kind of makes people anxious and isn't a fun experience, which it is crazy because it should be. So maybe like education that people are excited about would be a priority for me for any kind of new initiative to educate or to offer education to people.